Hi, I'm Rebecca Ball-Carcel. Let's talk about The Lady of Shalott by Alfred Lord Tennyson. This poem has 4 sections, and this is section 1. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye, that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by, to many-towered Camelot. And up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. And we have some wonderful rhythm here and rhyme, lie, rye, sky, by. Then we have Camelot, Shalott, people go, lilies blow, they're below. It's a wonderfully regular and interesting poem from that perspective, but let's just look at what each line means. On either side the river, okay, well, we've got a river, and on one side we have fields, and on the other side we have more fields. Fields of grain. Barley and rye are grains. And these fields clothe the wold. That means that the ripe grain is standing up on the fields, and it looks like a blanket or clothing over top of the land. And through the field, the road runs by. All right, so we have a road, and this road leads to Camelot, the fabled mythical city of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. So that's where we are. This is the equivalent of in a movie when you get that panoramic shot that shows the whole city, maybe down below, or an entire river valley. And that's what Tennyson gives us here, the fields, the river, the road, all setting the scene and telling us that we're near Camelot. Now people go up and down, it says, so they walk along this road, gazing where the lilies blow. Okay, now they're gazing from the road over to some new place where there are lilies blooming, blossoming, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. So there's an island inside the river. So out in the middle of the river is an island, and there's lilies growing there, a white flower usually associated with innocence and sometimes Easter, that is resurrection, purity. And so these flowers are growing on that island. Now let's go to stanza 2. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs forever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. I'm stopping halfway just to mention that willows and aspen are trees. They're slender, delicate trees too. They have narrow trunks, and in particular the willows have bending branches that come down. And we see there are breezes that dusk and shiver. That's a creative way to phrase it. And a wave that runs forever by the island in the river. So the water, makes a wave as it parts around the island, flowing down to Camelot. So the river runs down to Camelot, just as the road runs down to Camelot. 4 gray walls and 4 gray towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. All right, so we're meeting the lady for the first time. But what does it say? 4 gray walls and 4 gray towers. This is a little castle that's on that island in the middle of the river. This castle is either square or rectangular because it has its 4 walls. It has towers probably at the corners, and these are overlooking the flowers. And we already saw it. There are lilies there. So outside the castle walls we have flowers, and it says that the whole island embowers the Lady of Shalott. That means it surrounds her in the flowers. It's as if she's in a whole embrace of flowers, when it's actually the castle that's surrounded by the flowers and she's inside the castle. And it also says the silent isle. Isle means island, so it's a quiet island. That means that she is in a quiet place, surrounded by flowers, in a castle, and we'll learn more about her. 3rd stanza. By the margin, willow-veiled, slide the heavy barges, trailed by slow horses, and unhailed the shallop flitteth silken-sailed, skimming down to Camelot. Well, this is a hard little half of a stanza because it has a lot of words we don't use anymore. Let's see. By the margin, willow-veiled. Well, we've got the bank of the river. It's veiled with those hanging down branches of the willow tree. So they hang down like a veil. And near there, that riverbank, slide the heavy barges. So these are wagons or sledges pulled by horses. It says trailed by slow horses. So we have slow horses pulling the barges, these wagons, along that road that leads down to Camelot. And then it says, unhailed the shallop. These are little boats, little sailboats that are open on top. They're fairly simple boats, and they have sails that it says are silken. So silken sailed, they skim along to Camelot. And skim makes it sound like it's easy going, like they sail along happily. It's a fairly light-hearted word to use. So now we know that the shallop flitteth silken sailed. So the little boats go skimming down to Camelot. But who hath seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand? Or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shalott? Well, the answer is no, she is not known in all the land, and no one has seen her wave her hand. And at the casement have they seen her stand? That means the windowsill or the window frame. Has anyone seen her at the window? No. She's a bit of a mystery, this Lady of Shalott. Only reapers reaping early, in among the bearded barley, hear a song that echoes cheerly from the river winding clearly down to towered Camelot. Okay, so someone has heard her. They have heard a song, and it's being sung by the lady in the castle. So it says only reapers, meaning the harvesters, the people out harvesting this grain, the wheat and the barley, the rye rather, and the barley. So they're out there with those curved bladed tools to cut down the sheaves of barley and wheat, and they're collecting them in sheaves. So only they, when they're reaping very early in the morning, hear a song that echoes cheerily. So they hear this cheerful song that echoes around from the river. It seems like it's coming from the river because she's out there on that island, winding clearly down to Camelot. The river is winding down to Camelot. I will say that the bearded barley is because the grain has some kind of a tassel on it. Corn has a tassel on it that looks like a beard. It's just describing the plant. Okay, so they have heard her, these reapers, these harvesters. They have been out there harvesting the grain, and they hear her song. And the last of this section, and by the moon the reaper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy, listening, whispers, 'tis the fairy Lady of Shalott. So the reapers at night, too, by the moon. So when the moon is up, they're still harvesting, and they're taking their sheaves, and they're putting them in the uplands, in the airy uplands. They have to do this because they don't want the grain to rot or mildew, so it's got to have air circulation, so they're going to put them on a hilltop or something, somewhere where the wind can blow freely on them. But it says as they're piling those sheaves, they listen, and it says they listen and whisper, "'Tis the fairy Lady of Shalott." They think of her as a fairy because they haven't actually seen her. They just hear the song, they hear her voice, and that's all they know about her. Well, we'll see what happens to her and the adventures she has in parts 2, 3, and 4, so I hope you'll join me for those.